So we got another case of the Me Too movement, and this time it's the governor of New York.
His name was Andrew Cuomo. The undisputed king, though, of thirsty Democrats, without a doubt, is Andrew Cuomo. An entire nation of desperate libs and media figures is throwing themselves at the New York governor in an embarrassing way. His press briefings send lusty journalists into paroxysms of joy and moaning relief. A CNN op-ed proclaimed, "Thank God for Andrew Cuomo." Marie Claire went with, "My boyfriend Andrew Cuomo's new girlfriend is America. Trapped in my apartment, nowhere else to focus my hormones, the governor is the only man speaking directly to me from miles around." Yes, it was the era of the Cuomo-sexual, and please for Cuomo to govern me, daddy. Of course, we've trashed CNN for their embarrassing coverage, but the truth is almost every outlet was completely complicit. Here's a look at some of Vogue magazine's Cuomo coverage. Chelsea Handler wrote him a love letter. There was a piece explaining why we are crushing on Andrew Cuomo right now. Anyway, I'll spare you the rest lest we all become ill. And of course, all the while that he was doing softball interviews with his brother and winning an Emmy for his press conferences and landing a big book deal on his incredible leadership, people were dying needlessly from his corrupt decision-making on nursing homes. Lawmakers like Ron Kim tried everything they could to get attention to no avail.
You have no idea. It just felt...
So Andrew Cuomo is now being demonized for sexual harassment by some of his co-workers. Yeah. But prior to everything blowing up and the media attacking him, he was considered like a sex symbol. Right? Chelsea Handler writing letters to him with sexual content. Other people, like, you remember when the pandemic started, he was like considered a god because of the way he handled the situation. And a man in power, especially Andrew Cuomo, he's a good-looking guy, especially for his age and the charisma that he has, which is very attractive. So I think it's safe to say that he doesn't have any problems in that field with women, right? I'm sure women approached him all the time. We have evidence of this. Now, if he took a little bit of an advantage of that, let's not say advantage though, maybe he just gave in a tad bit and realized that everyone seems to be moved by his sexual energy, and maybe gave like a little rub on the back, said hello. Things become like that on a day-to-day basis, and now all of a sudden he's the bad guy. I don't know, man.
So are you saying basically that it takes two to tango?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying maybe he was egged on a bit. And is he supposed to act like a chastised person who's just not going to give in at all? No, he's a very confident man. And if he apparently likes the other person who's coming on to him a tad bit too, maybe he gave in. Maybe he slipped.
Because he's a man of power and stature. And this is what it does, right? If you have a position of power, right, and then you want to exercise that power sometimes, I would say that's human nature. That's our animalistic nature. I mean, this is bound to happen when you have men and women surrounded within each other in this small space or cubicle or wherever it is you're working for. Maybe it's Yahoo, maybe it's Facebook headquarters, or it's bound to happen. Now, what people say is that you have to be restricted. You have to be a monk in these types of environments. Is that possible?
That goes against our nature. That goes against human nature. You can't do that.
Now, here's another thing. People are saying that this might be a diversion of like what happened in the nursing homes. What do you think about that?
What happened in the nursing homes? Tell me about that.
Well, he's getting a lot of heat because supposedly that they put a lot of sick people into these nursing homes during the pandemic and when it first started. Yeah. That killed a lot of people. So he's obviously
He's held accountable for that.
Right.
Because of the decisions that he made.
Right. So he's getting a lot of heat for that. Is this a diversion?
You know what? It could be. I feel like when they start to attack the person, especially when it comes to like sexual harassment, there's something else going on in the background. There's some certain laws that they're not coming to agreement with.
Right.
And the only way to take down a person and their credibility is by making them into seeming like a nymphomaniac. And this person can't control themselves, and this person's not a trustworthy human being. There's something else at play. Because first, when he was handling the pandemic the perfect way, it's okay to make all those sexually energized wave jokes. Right, so if it happens to him, he doesn't feel like he's being sexualized in a way. How come the media didn't attack those people who were making those certain jokes about him?
What does it take for these women who are basically saying that he's dealt with them the wrong way? What does it take for them to finally speak out? Like, what happened? Like, why now, all of a sudden? Isn't it like a coincidence?
Yeah, it seems strategic. Like okay. I'm not saying that this doesn't happen with many women and they don't feel ashamed to come out and feel like they're the ones who are going to be demonized for it. Sure, it happens a lot, but this is like coincidentally happening with this one person, and then they're all coming out all at once.
Just like every other story.
Yeah, it just seems a little too coincidental.
Let me see.
So demoralizing at times. And I felt like I was living in alternative reality for a couple of months because I saw the truth of what's happening, and I felt like no one was listening to what I was saying. I reached a point where we actually took 70 pages of our report, took it to the United Nations, and say there is a violation of human rights that had occurred. A crime against humanity has occurred.
A crime against humanity? What is this?
A crime against humanity because he made like an insensitive joke or he touched someone. A crime against all of humanity. This guy sounds like he's a little bit jealous of his sexual... Why aren't they making those jokes about me? He sounds a little bitter.
New York State, because no one else seemed to care. And I needed to document what I saw as someone that mattered.
Okay. So what did he need to document?
Common Bond has made...
I mean, this guy, he seems like a journalist who's saying that he saw it all happening all along and no one else was paying attention but him. It's like, come on, dude.
I'm pretty sure it happened. Right?
Yeah, but I feel like it wasn't just him.
Is that Cuomo's behavior most closely mirrors the politician who is most despised by the mainstream press, Donald Trump, of course. The bullying, the corruption, the cover-up, the threats, and now the allegations of a pattern of sexual harassment. A 25-year-old aide says he asked her if she'd ever been with older men. Another former aide alleges that he invited her to play strip poker, gave her an unwanted kiss on the lips, and said that he would go out of his way to touch...
Like, this is, I feel like, okay, what is the context of the situation? Like, if you take things out of context, of course, this sounds horrible. Hey, have you ever been with an older man? What was the whole conversation about? You're just going to take that little snippet out and tell us that this is what he said to it? Then, of course, it's going to sound bad. But what do we know what she was saying to him? Did we hear his side of the story as well?
Because context is everything, is what you're saying.
Yeah, of course.
For example, if I tell you the pilot flew back to the front, what does that mean to you?
I have no idea what you're saying.
The pilot flew back to the front. Without the right context, that you're like, what the hell does that even mean? How did he fly back to the front?
Right.
But if the pilot was a part of the military, now the word front in context means the front line, or where the army where the army is placed. They call that the front. So now, with its context, it makes sense. The pilot flew back to the front.
Gotcha.
So you're absolutely right, man. I think have you ever been with all women? What if she was talking to him and like, oh my God, I'm so sick and tired of these young, immature men who think this way or that this way or this. Right. And then he was just about like, hey, I mean, you ever been with an older man?
In that context, he sounds like he's her therapist.
Right.
Or just a good friend who's trying to, like, show you the way, get you out of your own rut.
We're not saying that's 100% what's happening, but we're trying to.
It's a possibility.
Me on my lower back, arms, and legs. Now, Cuomo has denied those allegations, but did apologize for insensitive comments. Since that apology, another woman has come forward to allege inappropriate behavior at a wedding. Now, none of this will shock a single person who has followed New York politics. Not the bullying, not the lying, not the corruption, not the inappropriate behavior.
Obviously.
None of it. And yet, because he was a convenient foil for Trump and gave a great presser, the media failed to do its most basic job when it actually could have mattered. They were happy with their substance-free celebrity-style portrait of Cuomo. Mm-hmm. Why burst the bubble with, reporting and journalism? Cuomo appears now belatedly to be facing some consequences, especially as the fierce AG Letitia James gears up another investigation into his alleged wrongdoing here. But there's some signs the media still wants to cling to their rosy image of him. As Megyn Kelly points out, none of the major news outlets covered the harassment allegations against Cuomo when they first surfaced. But of course, it's not just Andrew Cuomo who's been forced upon us as some celebrity political demigod with little interest in what pushing power into those politicians' hands might actually mean. And it's not just Democrats either. Think about the gross way Paul Ryan was propped up as some visionary genius truth teller and dorky sex symbol. Remember these incredible photos? These were taken as part of a 2011 photo shoot because Paul Ryan was in the running for Time.
What?
So they had this information when it surfaced, but nobody put it on the media. It sounds like they strategically did it at a time where they want to take him down.
100%. 100%. Now they have no need for him.
I feel like now the media just picks and chooses when they want to apply their ethics and when they don't.
Or when they want to demonize someone.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Hey, listen, everybody has some skeletons in their closet. Now, with, FBI or CIA or Big Brother, you think that they can't pull up your, whatever it is that you're into, foot fetish. Right? And then blackmail you for it. I'm 100%. This is the way it works.
Yeah.
If they want to make you out to look like the bad guy, then they will. Because nobody is perfect. Especially when you have a position of power like this.
I just sense some deep bureaucracies going on. And whatever we get to surface in the media is not really the case.
It's not.
Right. This is just a face that they show us. What's really the issue? It probably has something to do with the policies that he was applying.
Who'd he piss off?
Yeah, who did he piss off? Because they had this information already. How come they didn't surface it right when it came about? If they're so ethical and they're so honest and they want everything to be operating in the proper way,
Right. Like the whole Monica Lewinsky case with President Bill Clinton. I mean, he's been you think he's the only president who had a mistress? You think he's the only president that came into the White House that had something going on the side?
Yeah.
With their secret parties that they attend?
Anyone in power. It's not just a male thing. Males, females, both. Anyone in power abuses it. Just a little bit. It's like magic powers you give them and tell them don't use it. No.
Oh man.
That's
yeah, I understand that. That's
so in a way everyone tends to do it. It's just how much you do it. I'm sure like there's videos that are surfacing, like this one video I saw of him saying to I think it was a reporter who was eating a hot dog saying, hey, that's a lot of sausage in that. So that's a lot of sausage in those buns. Something I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't those exact quotes, but they had the information there. It didn't happen yesterday. These videos were always there. How come they didn't surface then as inappropriate? Because at that time they were just so captivated by his charisma. Oh, every single thing about him. He was like a celebrity, just like Obama was too. All the women were sexualizing him and objectifying him. And now all of a sudden, everyone's jumping up and saying he's a bad guy. And all these videos are surfacing of him being inappropriate. I don't know.
Yeah.
It should have happened when it happened. You should have surfaced it when it happened. Then, we'll take everything into consideration and make our judgment of the guy, and according to the policies that he's doing too. But if they all come all at once, it just seems strategically pointing towards it one way. I feel like they're trying to make up our opinion for us.
And you think that every woman around a man with position, with a high position and power, is just like, okay, it's all nonchalant. No, he's your boss, right? And we could see this in a freaking if the store manager at a Target, that maybe the employee who's stacking the chips, she's gonna, but if he's kind of like touchy feely or whatever the case is, she's gonna be like, hey, maybe I can get a higher position if I just if I do anything with the man, but just kind of flirt with him back.
Yeah.
You don't think women do that?
Of course, man. How many of those go underneath the table, unrecognized, unnoticed?
So many.
And I feel like this goes back to the dawn of mankind. This is not like in our society.
Absolutely.
Women have always been attracted to men in power. If you go deep into their subconscious of what makes them feel attracted, of course, and if anything, they're probably egging that person in power way more than the chances that he's probably made or any advancements that he's made. Why do those go underneath the rug?
Well, like they say in the show business,
It's hypocritical, man. Both people need to be held accountable for it.
yeah, yeah. Like we said, it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It can be a setup. It can be so many things.
He very well could be a scumbag.
That too.
Who's just abusing his power.
Me personally, I don't like the guy.
No,
No, not my cup of tea.
he seems like a phony.
Yeah, it's just like the way he with the lockdowns and the rules and this, and people in power take, they get to a certain place and it corrupts them.
I see what you're saying. Like certain policies he made about the restaurants and whatnot, it just didn't seem like they were adding up. It wasn't making sense. Like when they were having when you have to have a little restaurant outside of the restaurant.
Yeah,
I think that was part of his policies too, but it made no sense. It's like, okay, if you're all going to be indoors outside, might as well just be indoors. That makes no sense.
yeah.
So, I see what you're saying too. Like a lot of his stuff like didn't make sense. And him and his brother, I feel like they were making him into like the Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Both of them. Which is fine. When everything is great, you can use them for your own agenda, but whenever they don't comply according to it, you just boop, throw them underneath the bus.
I feel like if you are that type of person who has absolutely no flaws and you're in a position of power or you're in politics, then you're in the clear. But that's not the case. If you're in a position of power and you're in politics, know that if they want a string to be pulled, you're gonna get exposed to something, some way, somehow, no matter what it is.